What do you see happening that we haven't seen before? And then I want to talk to you about some specific states.
So over the last 20 days, we've been traveling throughout the country, particularly in key states. And what we've been seeing is an enormous turnout. We were in Houston on the first day of early voting last Monday. They broke records. Everywhere we've been going, they've been breaking records. In Alabama, the same thing on this Saturday. They had the largest amount of early votes ever, particularly since it was an in-person absentee. We've also seen the same thing here in Georgia and North Carolina. We've been seeing an overperformance. Even when you look at some of the states like we're talking North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, African-American voters have been overperforming. And so as we're out in the communities talking to people, I think what Trump attempted to do in terms of this voter suppression, in fact, I think is backfiring on the Republican Party. In fact, it's become a lightning rod for Black voters who have been determined to get out and vote. And so we're seeing record-breaking numbers in early voting right now.
We're going to have, after you, Jamie Harrison and Jon Ossoff. So let's go through those states. Jon Ossoff running in Georgia, where you are. You know everything about that race. What does Jon Ossoff have to do in the closing days to win that race? And what does Jamie Harrison have to do in South Carolina to win that race?
I think they have to continue to get people to vote early. I think they've got to solidify the base. I think what we're seeing right now, we're seeing African-American voters actually outperform their other counterparts. And so I think we continue to need to drive home a message. We need to make an investment of those who are coming out. We need to see a higher turnout, making an investment. We need to see more radio. We need to see a message that are really being able to affirm that what is happening is that people are coming out in record numbers. And we also need to see some protection. It's interesting, even what you're showing right now. That's my polling site. That's my personal polling site at Wolf Creek and in Atlanta, Georgia. It's an hour. That line goes all the way down the highway. And so Black voters are showing up. I think it's really important to really be able to ignite in this space of supporting Black voters, but also to prevent voter suppression. What we're seeing right now, just in Georgia and Albany, Georgia, where there were lines waiting, we had our teams out there providing comfort of water and snacks for voters. And so now we've been told that we've got to stand 150 feet away, even though we don't have any campaign material, nonpartisan or no candidate. And so I think it's really important for those candidates to also speak directly to Black voters, that they're going to be a champion against voter suppression and that they're literally investing in those who are investing in them and plan to invest.
There's one word you said in there that interests me. You mentioned radio. Is radio more effective in voter turnout?
What we found in the Black community is that radio is significantly more effective than TV, that a lot of the messages, even as we're talking to people, we ask them where they're getting their information. They see those visible events where people are out in the communities, particularly and grassroots communities work, and then radio worked. And so those messages, what we know in Florida is that the Trump campaign has been flooding the airwaves with radio campaigns. I think what he has underestimated, I think that what he did, which was effective, is that he put a lot of doubt in the mail-in process and the absentee ballot process, which is very unfortunate. What I think that he grossly underestimated is how Black voters will respond to that. What he actually did is he made Black voters even that much more determined to get out and vote. And so what we're seeing higher numbers of in-person voting. And I do think that directly results from the confusion and the chaos that he tried to create around absentee mail-in voting.